So my name's Emily and I'm a 20-year-old student from Croydon, but I go to uni in Exeter. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the early church, so the church when it first began. And so in the Bible you've got the Gospels, which is the life of Jesus and the death of Jesus and the rising again of Jesus. And then Jesus ascends and you have the book of Acts, which are the Acts of the Apostles, so the disciples left behind. And they have been told to go out and preach the gospel to all nations and create the church. And we all probably kind of vaguely know about Pentecost, which is in Acts chapter 2, and it's when the Holy Spirit was poured out on the disciples, and they started speaking in tongues, and they had flames above their heads, and they communicated the gospel to huge numbers of people, and it was a massive thing. But then do we know what happened after that? Because Peter, just after Pentecost, he preaches to this huge crowd, and it says that those who believed what Peter said were baptized and added to the church that day, about 3,000 in all. And that is the biggest the church was at that point. That was the early church, and so suddenly they had so many people that they didn't know quite what to do. So I'm going to read a little bit from the end of Acts chapter 2, and the little subtitle says the believers form a community. It says this: all the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to sharing in meals, including the Lord's Supper, and to prayer. A deep sense of awe came over them all, and the apostles performed many miraculous signs and wonders. And all the believers met together in one place and shared everything they had. They sold their property and possessions and shared the money with those in need. They worshipped together at the temple each day, met in their homes for the Lord's Supper, and shared their meals with great joy and generosity, all the while praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all the people. That was their whole lives. The formation of the early church in that way was their entire lives. And actually thinking about it, that looks really different to the way that we do church now, doesn't it? And actually probably really different to our lives now. We kind of have this beautiful picture of the believers in the church just meeting together in their homes. They sold all their possessions, they gave the money to the poor, they devoted themselves to prayer and to teaching and to learning, and they worshipped together, and that was it. And their lives were completely angled towards God. They were completely angled towards the relationship with their Father. And this is post-Pentecost, so they had just seen the Holy Spirit actually move before their eyes. And so this was a continuation of the relationship they have with God. And it says a deep sense of awe came over them all. And I think that is what inspired this way of life, what made church the way it was. Because thinking about it, how many of us have been completely overcome by awe when we see God? And do we think that's impacted the way we do church and the way that we live and our priorities? These disciples, it says they were sincerely devoted to teaching and prayer, and they sold everything and gave it to the poor, and they shared everything, and they were in community and fellowship, and they were happy. And that's so different, isn't it? They didn't need stuff or status or money or job security or nice houses. They didn't need anything that we really hold dear today. They were just overcome with awe at the presence of God and worshipped Him together. I just think there is so much we have to learn from that. There is so much we have to learn from that, because that is a reflection, I think, of what God is like. It's a church that supported each other and loved each other in a really honest way. They prioritized the poor. They gave out to those in need. It was an outward looking church. They literally met in their homes. They had no building. They just loved each other, loved people, and loved the Lord. And so that's kind of just my musings. I wonder how our experience of both church and our lives would change if we were all genuinely just in awe of the God that we are worshipping. I wonder what that would look like, for us to see the Spirit move and be in awe. So that's just kind of my little musing for the day. Maybe it will help you to think about the way that the kind of posture you have in church and the posture you have as you come before God, and maybe even like your priorities, like in the day, what is your first thing that you do? What is your top priority for the day? Who are you serving in that day? Are you serving your job? Are you serving the money that you're after? Are you serving like people? Are you serving people so that you'll be popular? What are you serving? Are you serving those things, or are you serving the Most High God who loves you and knows your name? Musings, I don't know. I'll see you soon.